Last Sunday, I shared a wonderful story from my early childhood about my best friend Ronnie and I and how we used to walk home together after school every day. But the truth is, there aren't many stories from my childhood that are very pleasant. Being raised by a narcissistic mother and an emotionally absent father, a lot went wrong in my childhood, especially when I was about 12 years old when they got divorced. After that, my mother dragged me through 3 more of her marriages, always looking for the next person to entertain her, which is what narcissists do. There was an alcoholic, a gangster, a con artist, and a trio of disastrous relationships. And through it all, as a young boy, I was being dragged along with her from town to town and school to school, and always the new kid at the new school, just trying to survive it all. Now, I got out of it as soon as I could. I had my own apartment before I graduated high school. I've been out on my own since I was 17 years old. But the damage had been done. It was a little too late. And because of the constant chaos around me and the instability of my childhood, my own spirit never really had a chance to grow strong and healthy. So by 19, this chaos created chaos in my own life, and I started drinking and doing drugs and went through my own slew of bad relationships. I was a victim of my own pain and my own anger and my resentment for the 2 people who I thought had one really simple task. You know, why don't you love and care for the children you actually brought into the world? And I had a lot of judgment about my parents and their failure as parents, a lot of you should haves and you owe me's and why didn't you, which I hung on to for many years. So that's my story, or at least a portion of my story from an unhappy childhood. There are many more chapters in the story, which I will spare you because we do have the time constraints of a Sunday morning lesson, which is lucky for you because the story could go on and on and on, one horrible chapter after another. And I'm such a good storyteller that I learned just where to pause for dramatic effect. What I also learned from telling my tale of woe and sorrow for many years is that fewer and fewer people seemed actually interested in hearing it. The more I told it, the less they seemed to care. And maybe that's because everyone has their own story of sadness and disappointment. We all have a story to tell about being hurt or abused somehow in this world. It's just what happens in a world full of unconscious people. Some people get hurt. Some people get abused. Fortunately, for most of us, the sad stories of our lives remain private. They're known by just a few people around us. But can you imagine if your childhood trauma story was made public and so popular that literally everyone in the world knew the details of it? How much worse could it get? How would you ever find a way to overcome the pain of the past if everyone in the world knew what you'd gone through? Such was the case with our 4th story this month in our series on forgiveness. I saved this story for last, maybe because it's the hardest to hear, maybe because it seems to be the hardest to forgive. You already know the story of Elizabeth Smart. You know all the gory details because they were made public. In June of 2002, when she was just 14 years old, she was kidnapped from her bedroom. And she spent 9 months in captivity, during which her captors, which were actually a husband and a wife, tied her up, raped her daily, and threatened to kill her if she escaped. Now, I can't think of a more horrible thing to happen for a child to go through, a 14-year-old girl, than to have her innocence stolen from her at such a young age in the darkness of night, in the one place we all feel the most safe, in our bedroom. Elizabeth tells the story of being awakened in the middle of the night by her captor who said, "I have a knife at your throat, and if you make a sound, I will kill you." And then he abducted her, and he took her to a campground he had up in the mountains where his wife prepared her to be raped. This nightmare went on day after day after day, month after month after month, until Elizabeth said she prayed to die. She was chained to the ground, kept naked, and abused and raped daily. It's a horror story. It's inconceivable to me, or to most all of us, how anyone could ever do that to another human being, especially a child. It makes me angry just to talk about it. When we hear stories like this of an innocent child being abused, we want revenge, don't we? We want to hang this guy up by his testicles, right? We want him to die a slow, painful death. That is the knee-jerk human reaction. Hurt those who've hurt you. Make them pay for what they did. It's the normal response. It's the common response. But it's not the right one. The right response is to forgive them. But how, in God's name, do you ever do that? How could Elizabeth even begin to forgive the couple who tortured and raped her? And why would she want to? In her own words, she said this: I didn't want to live my life under my captor's control. I didn't want to live my life in fear. She made a choice. Forgiveness begins with a choice to not be controlled by what happened to you, to not let it dictate and destroy the rest of your life and steal your joy. It is a choice you make for yourself, a declaration of independence from your own pain. It is a conscious choice to not be a permanent victim, to not sacrifice your future for a past you cannot change. And that's the choice I'm asking you to make today. To not let whatever happened to you in your past steal your joy from living. To not succumb to the bitter and anger that is so common for all of us. And I have to tell you, it takes an extraordinary woman to make that choice, an exemplary man. Very, very few of us have the awareness and the support to not let our past infect and destroy our future. The fact is, I didn't have it. I didn't have it. I did the common thing. I followed the more predictable pattern. My childhood trauma certainly doesn't compare to Elizabeth's by any ways or means. But I did what is most common, what most of us do. I took up where the abusers left off. You see, it's very common for women who've been raped or men who've been traumatized to hit in their own lives the self-destruct button. They start to abuse themselves long after the abuser has left. They feel worthless. They feel defeated. Their self-esteem plummets. And so they start drinking or taking drugs or doing something that creates chaos and out-of-control life. The common reaction for being abused is to self-destruct, to not allow anything good or anyone good into your life. And then this cycle just repeats itself on an unconscious level over and over and over again. So as ironic as it may seem, those who've been abused by others start to abuse themselves. When asked how she found her way to recovery, Elizabeth said, recovery starts with acceptance. Accepting that you're hurt. Accepting that you're angry. But then she said, don't even think about forgiveness. Don't even think about it. Just try to start loving yourself. As your love for yourself grows, you'll be able to let go of what's happened to you. I don't think I have ever heard better advice when it comes to finding a way to move on from the pain of your past. Forgiving those who've hurt you can feel overwhelming to do. It can be too pie in the sky, too unreachable. I can't forgive those people. So the best way to get to the happiness that awaits you on the other side of your pain is to start loving yourself right now, where you are, as you are. Self-love is the key to rebuilding your life. It's the baby step that we all have to take to heal. And I say baby step because I am keenly aware that when you've been told you're not good enough over and over and over again your whole life, loving yourself or even treating yourself well seems incredibly awkward at first. Because in your mind, you keep telling yourself, I don't deserve this. I don't deserve this. This is too good for me. I don't deserve this. But keep taking those baby steps. Start treating yourself like somebody you actually love. And in time, I promise you, it will feel right to do so. Elizabeth Smart went on to become a healthy, functional woman. She got married, has children of her own. She's written several books about her experience and how she came into recovery and healing and forgiveness, all of them on the New York Times bestseller list. She's done TED Talks and received numerous awards and accolades. She's an activist for women's rights and helped promote the National Amber Alert for lost or abducted children. Elizabeth's recovery continues to motivate and inspire law enforcement and leaders worldwide to focus on childhood safety. To learn more about her, all you have to do is go to elizabethsmart.com. In her TED Talk, she said something that amazed me and surprised me. She said, although I would never, ever, ever want what happened to me to happen to another person, I actually feel grateful for what it brought to my life. Because of the trauma she went through and the challenges of her own recovery, what might have been an otherwise ordinary life for a teenage girl, Elizabeth Smart became an extraordinary woman who made a difference in the lives of millions of people. She has quite literally changed the world and left it much better than she found it. Now that, my friends, is the way to do it. That's how you take a horror story and you turn it into a healing story. So let her be your example on how to live successfully. Even if you were raised by crazy people like I was, even if you've been abused by others, even if you have been through holy hell, because I always say, if you're gonna go through hell, be sure to rent. Get a short-term lease. You don't want to buy real estate in hell and stay there, right? Go through hell, but go through it to the other side. Say what you need to say. Yell. If you need to yell, cry. If you need to cry, let out all of the emotional trauma. Open the wound and release the pain, because you have to feel it to heal it. But then after you've done that, turn the page on that book, close that wound, and you leave that story where it belongs, in the past. You see, here's the problem. If you let it, that story of survival will become your identity. And instead of being the healthy creator of new stories, you'll get stuck in survival mode, retelling your story of your painful past over and over and over again. And if you don't stop doing that, not only will the story of your painful past become your new identity, you will start to proudly wear it around so that everyone can see, like a Boy Scout with an honor badge. You get a badge for surviving a crappy childhood. You get a badge for surviving a miserable marriage. You get a badge for surviving cancer. And you start to feel inflated and blown up, and you say, look at me. Look at what kind of fresh hell I have survived. Most people are completely unaware of the harm that causes them and the limitations it brings to their lives. I've been wondering a lot why we do things like that. Why do we do that? Why do we march around so proudly with our survivor's badge on? You know why we do that? The same reason we do everything. Because there's a payoff. There's a payoff. We get attention for it, right? It makes us feel self-righteous and better than others. And ultimately, we start to gain our self-esteem by surviving one thing after another. Look at how wonderful I am because I've survived this. Now, of course, no one intends for that to happen. People just get stuck in their stories, and they just keep repeating them over and over and over again. But you see, this isn't one of those fake reality shows like Survivor. Have you noticed all the people on Survivor are good looking these days? Don't they have any ugly people surviving? No. They're all gorgeous and buff, right? And then Naked and Afraid. Do you see overweight people on Naked and Afraid? No, they're all buff and gorgeous. These fake reality shows, this is not real life. This is real life. So I'm going to tell you, because maybe somebody forgot to tell you this. You are not here to survive misery. You are here to thrive. In a universe that is created for the sheer delight and pleasure of a love that has no end, what other agenda could there possibly be for your life? You are here for love. You are here to enjoy life, not suffer through it. Forgiveness is the key to healthy living. Forgiveness is the road to freedom. Forgiveness is the path to self-love. By forgiving those who hurt you, you are set free to live the life your heart dreams of. And by the way, the life that God always had in mind for you to live. A life of love and joy and ease. Pause for dramatic effect. And so ends the lesson. Let's take a minute to close our eyes. We forget that we're not these bodies we animate and carry around every day. And that there's no reason to be judged or judge others by the shape, age, or style of their body at all. We are spirits animating bodies, love inside them wanting to be released. Let's stop for a minute and go inward to see what spirit is there.
I breathe out, I breathe in, I am still, I go within. When I quiet my mind, in the stillness I find. Spirit meets me there, Spirit meets me there.
It's easy to forget. It's easy to not remember that we have been created in the image and likeness of love. It's easy to put other agendas in front of us instead of the one agenda of love. We forgot that we're not alone. It seems like we are, but we're not. Inside of us, circling around us, lifting us up and holding us up, is the love of the universe. That power that holds the planet in the precise orbit necessary to sustain all life in it, because it loves what it creates, and it created you. Whatever harm has been done to you is not permanent. It is temporary. Your spirit will survive it. Your soul will go on, and the love inside your heart will be revealed again. It doesn't matter what you've been through. What is within you is far greater than anything. What is within you is life, love, light, God, joy. We forget that. And so we look for our good outside of ourselves all the time, thinking it's out there, when in truth it's been inside of us all along. Let's go there now. Let's go inside our own hearts. Let's make a choice together today to not be driven by the pain of our past. Let's claim our independence from all that has hurt or harmed us back then. Let's move forward in love. Let's create a better idea, a grander vision. Let's claim our healing and take a step into the greatest idea we have for our lives. Let's move on and move forward into joy and love, where we belong, where we belong. And so it is.
in the stillness I find.